Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy Road Dogg with none other than the man, the myth, the legend. What am I going to say? I was going to go with a lawyer, but I didn't even know. Karl Bryan, Esquire. Are you there, sir? What is Esquire? What is
Esquire?
What is that? Wasn't that
it's impressive, though, Shoots. Let's consider running with it. There you go. I'm doing good, Road Dogg. I'm doing good, my brother. How are you doing, bud? You're a little bit colder than I know that,
yeah,
but other than that.
Why? Is this the reverse short joke? Like, I give you short jokes.
I'll do the weather. That's actually it. You do the short jokes. I'm going to do the weather joke, Shoots. Yeah. That's where we're going. That's how this relationship is unfolding because I've left you in the cold there, Shoots. So I apologize about.
Literally left me in the cold. Listen, if I want to talk about the weather, I'll call my parents because if it's not that, they're talking gas prices and it's next level. But
yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's always a great conversation with the parents, man, about gas prices.
Hey, listen, I'm a little concerned.
About what?
About some of your jokes are all revolving around alcohol. Is everything okay down there? Like, are you going into the rums a little much? Because you're talking about the quarantini. It's just like a regular martini, but you drink it alone in your house.
Alone.
And talking about the average male walks 900 miles per year and drinks 22 gallons of beer. I do appreciate that you figured out that the average male gets 41 miles per gallon. So that's
you like that one, Shoots? You like that one? Good to see you reading. That's what impressing everybody here that you're reading them, Shoots. Well done. Took me a while to get you on the daily.
I'm just trying to. You know what? It's to become better. You got to read. Unfortunately, I'm reading your jokes, so I'm not sure if that's actually helping me progress. But here we are. Shave a few IQ points.
Shoots. All good, man. All good. Anyways, what do you got for us, man? What's happening in the coaching world?
We've got a whole bunch of questions pouring in. This one's very, very interesting. This is actually a topic that in my sort of mentorship group we were discussing a couple weeks ago. But the question that came in is, my coaching client is bad at collecting money and keeps seeking new work/jobs. Any tips on a system to help them? Boy, oh boy. I love this one, bud. This one's so how would you respond to
hit it? Yeah, so agreed that this is look, if this is happening, I mean, this is the big rock. You should be looking at nothing but this. It's psychology above all else, and you want to. It's the business owner. They're looking for what's sexy. They're looking for what's new, right? The 4-hour work week, the secret, all that sort of stuff. So, to think about this, and I could lay out a system for you, but to think that you're not going to start with psychology would be a mistake. It's like kids that grew up adored but ignored. Okay, so think like somebody from an alcoholic family, that kind of thing, adored but ignored. Like they have some of the toughest lives, right? And they can be from middle class or upper middle class and better, not better, but you know what I mean? Families with no shortage of money and whatnot. That's where it tends to happen. So adored but ignored, they can create some challenges. So if you think that later in life, you're just going to fix something, you know what I mean? And then magically they're going to, suddenly have all their ducks in a row. You got to go a little bit deeper. You're going to have to go significantly below the surface in order to recalibrate or help that individual. It's a little bit here. That's more of a dramatic example, but to not think that you're going to develop a system and then not start with psychology would be an error, a mistake. I think maybe to raise their eye, because you start talking about this stuff, you've taken somebody from looking for Facebook ads and The Secret and the 4-Hour Work Week and the, high ticket sales and, do what you love and make millions of dollars type crowd that I don't know, fall for that, but they're getting taken by that stuff. You need to raise their eyebrows a little bit to get their attention. So a few of my canned examples, and if you've listened to this for any period of time, you've heard me say, but okay, so if your client has 20% margins and then they make a sale that equals $1, what happens? Well, the answer is they keep 20 cents, and then at like 20% margins, 80% gets lit on fire via expenses, right? So they make $1, they keep 20. Make sure that then they're like, oh, wow, I never thought about that as, elementary as that as far as my margins go. And then the other examples, but if we go to your profit and loss and we save you $1, how much you're going to keep? And the answer is 100 cents. There's an 80-cent gap there. Where's a smarter place for us to start? Or another example, you're driving traffic online and you get a 2% conversion, you go to 3%. On the surface, that appears to be a 1% improvement, but it's not, it's 50%, right? Or 20% margins and you increase them to 30. That sounds like a 10% improvement, not very exciting for the average bear, but 20 to 30 is a 50% example. So I don't want to go to that example further. I've given it many a time, those types, you should have those in your back pocket canned and pull them out, because I think that will raise their eyebrow where they go, you know what? Maybe I don't know it all. You know what? Maybe the books that I've been reading have not been the best. Or maybe, again, I'm that get rich quick guy and I don't even realize it. Maybe I'm following a little bit too much of the rich dad, poor dad stuff, which is great advice for the most part, but not, ducks in a row, one foot in front of the other in the trenches doing the work. And before I undertook this, another thing that I would do, Road Dog, to make sure that the psychology is jacked up, an action plan, right? So go to their bank account and let's say in their bank account right now, they got $35,000, right? It might be 135 and it might be 5,000, doesn't matter. Sake of the example, they got $35,000 in their bank account. Now, undertaking this process, I want you to revisit that bank account and look at what the balance is. And presumably it's going to go from 35 to 55. It might go from 35 to 100, awesome world. You got it. And then you'll have an example where you can anchor it. You know what I mean? And that's going to help you with the psychology. So, yeah, and I would do that, 30 to 45, when are you going to look at their bank account? Not in 7 days, right? 30 to 45 days and put it on the calendar and make sure that you do. And then if it's not increasing, again, you got some different questions to ask. Remember the little red arrow, you are here, right? What are they doing wrong? What's the scoop? Are these just all bad debts that they need to just wipe away? So what they've got to do, though, very importantly, Road Dog, game plan, itemize accounts receivable. You've heard the saying, cash is king. Never been truer than, times like this when the world's kind of a little bit crazy. Your prospects and high-end coaching clients need to hunker down and watch their cash, because once cash is gone, it's gone forever, right? wrote a book, Accounting 101 for business coaches. And there's a section in there that I wrote, generalizations murder intelligence. Okay. Generalizations murder intelligence. Think about that. Might be worth a Post-it note to go on your computer. But your client likely has a line item on their balance sheet that says accounts receivable, or I guarantee they do. But the problem is it's a single number. Okay. So let's assume it's $100,000. In other words, they've undertaken work and are owed $100,000 that they haven't been paid on. Zero itemization and no single place for your client to go and see exactly who owes money and not how much, right? So you've got to itemize that $100,000 so that you know exactly. So your client needs to create a list of people that owe them money, okay, called debtors, right now. Boom, first thing they have to do. Collecting the money should not be delegated, because the first thing they want to do, Road Dog, is say, who's going to undertake this horrifically boring task, right? No. I want the business owner to get on the phone and start calling around. We're presuming this isn't a $10 million, $25 million company, right? This is a 1 to 5, less than a $10 million company, right? Then at a 10 million, again, I want the owner on the phone, not just because he or she is going to be the best at getting the money, but I also want them to understand, why didn't they get paid? What do we got to change in the future? So the owner's got to pick up the phone. Don't delegate this task, which will be their first inkling, their first thing. There's a good chance that they'll try to do that. And there's already somebody in charge, right? So they'll have a chat to that manager or whoever might be the guy, a guy who owns the business and, a husband-wife team and the wife's in charge, right? Go and don't muck about, right? They need to prioritize. Now that they've itemized this, they got to prioritize that list. Maybe this should be the step before. But anyway, you got to prioritize the list for age. How is it 30, 60, 90, 120 or older days, right? What's the amount of the 100,000? Let's assume they got 10 people at exactly 10,000, which wouldn't be the case, but let's assume. So they got to go down and then they got to know exactly how aged that is, the exact amount, and then probably put a probability of collecting. If these guys are out of business, look, you got to call that a bad debt and you got to move it across your balance sheet because you pay tax on that money. That gives you a false representation of where their business is at because it looks like this is the business that appears to be profitable, but they're like, I got no cash, right? And as this is done, the process must be created to ensure that accounts receivable are tracked and kept current in the future, right? So the whole undertaking is to make sure that you're allowed to make mistakes. You just can't keep making the same mistake, right? So if we play this out, your prospective coaching client drive new accounts, they follow up the new accounts. Somebody closes, quote unquote, those new accounts. They pay commissions to their salespeople on those new accounts. They fulfill on the accounts. They therefore pay staff, presumably, to undertake that, pay for wear and tear on their equipment, as the case may be, et cetera. And, creating all these new accounts, but they forget to collect the money, right? And then get confused when their accountant provides them financials, like I said a minute ago, and it says that they're profitable. And the guy's like, my accountant says I'm profitable, but my bank balance is empty, right? Like, where is all my money? If I'm got this profitable business and I got no cash, where the heck is it gone? And then of course the phone rings and it's the advertising sales guy or the new, let's run a Facebook ad, a YouTube ad, an Instagram ad, a TikTok ad. And they buy the ad to try to fix their cash flow problem, right? So hello, it's such a common mistake. It's insane. And the level of stupidity, if you think about it, required to do this with consistency is mind numbing. But Road Dog, you mentioned it earlier, right? Like this is something you're dealing with, you know what I mean? Like speaking right now about it's sadly very common, right? So, and it's also why, many businesses are tight on cash as their revenue skyrocket. So again, they look like they're doing great. Their financials look great. Their salespeople are bringing in, new accounts and everybody's busy, especially the business owner. And it's not good. So bottom line is we're looking for a little bit of roadmap, right? You need itemization. So one would be you need to create a list of people that owe money, debtors right now. So 100,000 isn't good enough. We need to have a list of the people who owe that $100,000. Need to prioritize that list for age, amount, and probability of collecting. Okay. Somebody's got to pick up the phone. Ideally, the most important person in that company, as in the owner, picks up the phone and needs to collect it. And then as a step 4, we'll call, as that's done, a process must be created to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future. Because if it happened in the past, the best predictor of the future is the past, right? So if it's happened in the past, probably going to happen again in the future. Just can't do it. So, please, again, just take a few minutes out of your day today, contact local business owners, go to the networking group, reach out to people that put it on Facebook, but, help some folks, whether they pay you or not, as like a community service undertaking, help them itemize that accounts receivable because you'll change things in a very real and tangible way. So Road Dog, yeah, and importantly, as I started, it's understand that this is not about creating the system, although it is. But if you don't start with psychology, I dare say you're not getting anywhere. So there you go, Shoots. That's what I think. What do you think?
So now you have talked about this as well on the opposite side for accounts payable of nice. Also being equally mismanaged. Can you dive into that? Because as we're going down this path, we might as well talk about that as well.
Yeah, nice one. So what's so common, right? Road Dog, where it's the same guy or gal, the same company with the same problem, where they got an accounts receivable problem, they're not collecting their dough, but then accounts payable, they've got this attitude where, they want to pay everybody immediately because they don't like to be in debt, right? So I call it sweetheart syndrome. Not a good one. It's very costly and a mistake on steroids, right? So just no way I can stress the importance and misunderstood nature of this one. And it's just accounts payable. Like, people just don't think of that as a line item or a place to go in a business where there's an error, right? And by the way, this is one that I didn't really get for a long time. So I'll just say this: your coaching client tells you, I don't like it when I owe people money, so I just pay up front, or I don't like debt, so I just pay everybody and prefer not to have to worry about it. They're making a ghastly error. My harsher voice would say they're an idiot. Let's go with that harsher voice, so that the point, lands solidly, like those punches, like a punch to the nose, and you make sure that you're on it, right? Like, businesses do not go out of business from running out of ideas. They don't go out of business because they run out of opportunities. They go out of business for one reason and one reason only, and that's because they run out of cash. The end, right? So being in a hurry to pay everybody and that's not to say that you don't pay everybody. Absolutely not. It's not what I'm saying. It's when you take on a new account, negotiating 30, 60, 90-day terms. If you can get 90-day terms out of a supplier, that is the same as going in and getting a credit card interest-free from the local bank, right? Like, you get free money for 90 days to pay that on day one, and it's normally, the reason is because you're disorganized. You don't have those systems that I talked about a minute ago in accounts receivable. So anyways, it's, I love it, Road Dog. And, it's, a lot of businesses, could make up some lost ground, right? In this coronavirus and just the times, because some are thriving, but still some businesses are hurting wildly. So I would dare say that this is where they should, accounts payable is not one that they're looking at, and they should think about it. And if you could pay up front a little bit differently, but related, is that if you've got a client and they can pay, like pay up front because they're cashed up, and then they can pay up front and get a 5, 7, a 10% discount, 2.5% discount if they've already got the cash. But this is an automatic return on your money, right? So they should really be looking at that as well. So, but if you're low on cash and you can get 60-day terms, they should be taking advantage of it. Remember, Apple doesn't pay you until day 90. When you buy something from Apple, they pay you on day 90. Most cash flush business on the planet, and their accounts payable, they don't pay their bills for 90 days, right? So that should, and local business owners are not thinking like that, doing that. Business coaches as a general rule are not. So there you go, Shoots. That's my answer. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty wild actually when you think about that, right? Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around that, because as you're talking, you're like, well, man, if you got an extra 5%, like, imagine just doing this for your clients. Okay, help them negotiate. Well, if you're going to pay everything at cash up front and you got a 5% discount, what does that actually do to your bottom line? Because that's 5% right there, right? Like, that's crazy. Like, you didn't have to work for that. Like, that's the insane thing. Now, you did mention COVID and hot topic, but obviously, as we've seen, holy smokes, like, some businesses are thriving, right, and others are really hurting. So somebody wrote in and said, I'm struggling to see past this COVID crisis. Wondering if you can give me some positives that have come out as a result of it. Man, oh man,
nice.
That I can't wait to hear what you have to say, because it just, depending on how you look at it, right? You see dark, you're going to see dark. If you're looking for positives, man, those signs are all over the place as well. But what are you seeing, Karl?
Yeah. So look, just you buy stuff, you end up with stuff. That's what I would say, and look, COVID-19 doesn't, as a general rule, it doesn't spread outside, right? Okay. So is that, I don't know, like, indirectly, does that sound like maybe somebody sending a message, right? I remember when early on I sent a message out, and it was like, if Mother Nature could speak to us, she'd interrupt your shares, likes, the viral Facebook posts, the planes, social media, trains, automobiles, certainly the shaming, the judging, The the meetings, the videos, the TV shows, the meetings specifically, like just work, right? Live to work to live. Which one? The malls, the online shopping, the Amazon deliveries on a daily basis. And when someone doesn't look after their body, it responds with sickness, right? It slows them down when they refuse to. Like maybe the society, it's like this is this is something that needed to happen, right? But how would we notice when we're so busy? Striving, grinding, hustle, ignoring what really matters and, staring at our phones while we do it, all in the interest of the illusion that we call quote unquote success. Success for the most, it's buying stuff you don't need to impress people you don't like and that quite possibly don't like you. Right. And then pay interest on it. So maybe Mother Nature has been trying to get our attention maybe a little bit. I mean, I remember, 2018, summer of 2018, 2 million people were forced to evacuate their homes for a, torrential downpour. And by the way, sent a bill to the tune of billions of dollars in economic change. Maybe she figured the billions of dollars would get her attention more than, having to evacuate the homes, right? We didn't, you grabbed your phone and ran out. And what was it? In Asia, there was a flood at an airport that was literally flood proof, right? I don't know. Think about that. It was literally built to be flood proof and smell you later. And then, there was a typhoon that had I don't even know, $30 to $50 billion bill attached to it. I remember Australia. Australia is very close to my heart. Lived there for a very, very long time. The country practically burnt down, it was just like, wow. And as I say this, I know for a fact that even as I'm, kind of going down this laundry list of, I'm like, what events, have kind of got our attention, we're designed to get our attention. I'm like, wow, that's right. I forgot about that one. Right. And possibly the worst offense is, friends, colleagues, family, and war veterans, have been taking their lives in record numbers under the stress. And then what do you think COVID's done? Right? I got a young guy that I used to coach in hockey, no longer with us. And I remember I watched his funeral online, not, I just wanted to kind of tune in, wanted to see his dad. Know his dad well, sent him, some comforting messages to do. I got mentioned in the eulogy, which by the way, and I'm not expected in any way, shape or form, but it was just like, wow. And I mean, it's been, a long time since I dealt with his family, etc. But it's never, I don't know, kind of wild. Let's put it that way. Just the way that, everybody just slow down and, what really matters and what kind of impact are you making on people? Is it long lasting, etc. And more often than not, these situations are just an inconvenience to business as usual. Our obligation, it should be to each other, and maybe that's not the case. So we all got, beginning, we got sent to our room, and in Canada, this is kind of happening, again. How I find myself, not that I'm just, outside of Canada right now, because I'm like, what? I just, I don't know. I'm just going to get out of Dodge. But maybe it's the, maybe it's not the enemy. Maybe it's more like a messenger. We should all just stop, rest, and be grateful for, what really mattered. I don't know, again, taking a philosophical view to this, Road Dog. Maybe just Mother Nature says it's no longer a request, right? Or again, whatever, it's the universe, it's God. What is it that you believe? Is it Mother Nature? But it's no longer a request. It's like a mandate. We should all consider closing our Facebook accounts, putting down our phones, and enjoying the outdoors where COVID doesn't spread. Is that what? So not to mention, but I don't think that's where the question was kind of, meant to go. I think that it's broken down a lot of barriers, created some much needed change, like medical regulations were relaxed to speed up the detection and immunization records or efforts. Right? Insurance companies providing coverage and remote medical checkups, right, that we've never had before, and now all of a sudden, this would have taken 10 years due to the stupid red tape and the paperwork previously. And that remote coverage was executed in like, I don't know, it was a week. I think it was actually 48 hours, but it was almost instantaneous, and it could have been, right? But everybody's sitting on their damn hands. The mortgage industry allowing electronic loans to be processed and paperwork suddenly, doesn't need to be signed in person. Was that ever the case? The archaic educational system is magically, becoming more and more every day, significantly more online friendly. How is that not a thing, right? Like, are educators responsible for educating our children? Like 2021, they living in a reverse time warp, I ask myself, right? So again, it's, there's some dramatic change, like again, regulation being softened and better, what do I call it, deployment of services changed in 48 hours when it would have taken Lord knows how long to get it through. So the process hurts and it's not fun. But these look, there's some changes in the business world that are insanely positive. Just think of all the people that are able to work remotely, and how people have made adjustments, bosses have made adjustments, companies have made adjustments to make that, significantly more available. Think of the young mom. She doesn't want to go back to work. She doesn't want to send her child to daycare, her kids to daycare, but she haven't had an option. Well, now, moms, nobody, can multitask and get more things done than a young mom, right? So, or a mom for that matter, right? They just got lots of things to take on. So, and then, by the way, so with that, what needs to change for your high-end coaching clients? Your coaching clients making positive moves, and reducing silly procedures, like I mentioned earlier, like red tape and silly procedures that are be holding them back. Have they managed to work out a way for their staff to work virtually? Have they adopted that? And have they done a hybrid? I like to use a professional football team or a professional sporting team as an example, right? Like where there's a lot of plays that could be done on, like a lot of training could be done on Zoom where you're showing players, like different plays and how we're going to defend against, Tom Brady and the boys and the playoffs and, and different defense. This is how this defense lines up. You don't need to be, where do they do it? They do it in a classroom, right? Could they be at home with their families and then they can get a 1 hour meeting in virtually and then, dad can be home with his kids before and after, and then he goes to the facility to do the physical stuff. But a lot of, there can be cognitive training via Zoom, the same way that our kids have recently learned how to do that. So so you're thinking about what's the balance between virtual? The world's never going to work as perfectly virtually, right? Like there's got a minute meetings that happen in the elevator, in the washroom, washing your hands as you're walking through the hallway and you stop, that just can't be replicated. You can't do that virtually, right? The same way that, Road Dog and I can't go, he can't practice curling and I can't practice hockey, say, or play curling and play hockey virtually. You guys can't do that, right? I'm not interested in playing, pretend hockey online, but it could certainly get a lot of instruction that way, right? So, what needs to change for your coaching clients as a result of, what's going on and some of the loosening of the regulations and the magic that Zoom and a lot of other online platforms provide. Like in the pre-show, Road Dog, we were talking to Don there about group coaching software. And I had like our group coaching, like say that it's going, incredibly well with the understatement of the year from our, coaches that are jacking it up. And I truly believe without this, it wouldn't be going quite as well. It wouldn't have been adopted so freely. Right. So anyways, and are you, as in the business coach, you listening, are you making positive moves, for your business? Right. One of the things we did, like we've always done business coaching mastery. Another example, we've done it we normally do it in Cancun. We've done it in, Vegas and Punta Cana and some cool destinations, but Cancun's kind of become our home away from home. But we launched virtual business coaching mastery. And the only thing I was left wondering after we did it, but hundreds of coaches in it, is like, how did we not do this? How did I not, why will, what was going through my head when I thought like this all needed to be done live? I mean, it's not that I didn't think in that way. I just didn't. I just figured it was a live event and it was always going to be a live event. And that was that. And necessity brought on the first virtual business coaching mastery. And we'll be doing those till the end of time. So anyways, Road Dog, and do you have a virtual assistant? Are you running webinars online and online trainings? Are you utilizing group coaching software to basically jack things up big? If you had a look at our group coaching software to see some of the magic that it provides, you're doing Facebook Lives. Are you doing, live videos on YouTube? Do you have a YouTube channel, right? Have you launched your own podcast? What are you, because again, these things, but are you deploying on them? So yeah, Road Dog, I don't know, man, a little bit philosophical there. But I don't know, there's some, what I think maybe I'll just close it with, what changes are you making as a result of the mayhem and the craziness and what's going on? So what do you think, Shoots? You like?
Well, I thought we're going to, if you were here, it was a total hold hands and sing Kumbaya for a minute.
It did. I was like, oh, this is kind of getting soft.
It was an interesting path we're walking down. You know what? If you want, I can come down and we can, walking on the beach if you want. I don't know, dude.
Road Dog, I could use that.
Listen,
let's line it up.
Hey, I'm going to get on my soapbox here just for a second. And all I'm going to say is, the way that you do small things is the way that you do everything. So people's reactions to all of this that I find absolutely fascinating is, you can choose to be distracted or you can choose to be focused, but you have the choice. So when you look at COVID, you look at anything. My big question is, because there's a lot of people, I don't care what side of the aisle they're on, because you take the extremes from both sides. They're so wound up and they're so focused on this as if they're personally going to change it. Amazing, like mind bending to me, right? So I look at that and I think, if you could focus like that inside of your business, how much further would you be ahead, right? I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, I was distracted with this whole thing early on myself. Best thing I ever did was I was aware. I got focused. I apologized to my wife for bringing that much chaos into my home, and then I got focused. And as a result, I don't even recognize the version of who I am today than I even was 6 months ago. So, like, what's the next level of distraction? What comes after COVID? What's the next thing that's going to distract you and keep you from doing what you know you need to do? Like, that's the big thing that I don't understand, is when is enough for you that you're going to decide, okay, I don't care. I'm not going to look at everything as bad and negative. How about you look at it, like, don't get me wrong. There's so much negative with COVID, but from a pure business point of view, because this is a business podcast, where is the opportunity for you, and where else, if you choose to always look at everything in a negative light, where else are you doing that, right? Like, why not look for opportunity everywhere? Because bad times produce heck of opportunity. We've talked about this before. We've talked about the companies that were built. Carl, we've talked it. Like, dude, when did you start LPW?
Disney, 100%. Jared, 2008, baby. 2008.
So, like, it's just, you got to look at this as a moment and an opportunity where you can bring some calm and some stability. You have to lead your clients into a better mindset. And the only way that you can do that is to live it yourself. So that's my little soapbox rant. But I feel very strongly about this, because it's not just COVID. It's going to be the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing. It's like, when are you going to stop allowing yourself to be distracted? And when are you going to actually do what you know that you need to do?
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, two things, Road Doug. One, I have personally watched your transformation over the last, whatever it is, it's 18 months. And I am going to give you a high five, my brother, which we have talked about. And I hope that folks can take a bit of inspiration, because everything that Road Dog just laid out is exactly, he just owned it. You know what I mean? He just said, look, I got to make some changes. You mentioned at home, but there was, you know what I mean? Like, you've made, your entire life has changed, man. I think that marathon had something to do with it, by the way. But I've seen it, man. I just want to give you a high five and inspire everybody on that. And by the way, just so 2008, but we, again, supporting coaches since the beginning of time. But what happened in 2008 is that the entire business model, 2008 happened, topic for another day. But just like everybody, there was total chaos. And basically everything I did on that day, I said, I'll tell you what I said. In fact, I said, I'm going to franchise the internet. I was like, nobody else is doing it. That's what I'm going to do. And as you look at what we have got today, I took everything, because I had, it was binders and audios and videos and CDs and DVDs, etc. Old school coaching, which was the go then, huge binders, 500 pages. Step-by-step picture goal setting is intellectual property, picture time management, intellectual property. So we were doing it the old school way. 2008, the poopy hit the fan, just no more, never again. And I just said, look, I am going to earn my income, because I saw these other guys doing it, and some of which I knew and some of which I didn't, inspired by all of them. And I just said, look, I am going to build an online company, but I wasn't about to go sell ebooks, right? Because again, I understood a thing or two about profit margins and that sort of thing, and just selling a $47 ebook was never going to be my gig. So anyway, that's an interesting. You talk about transformations. I went through one in 2008, man. So there you go.
Well, there it is, right? Like I was just thinking about, as there's been a lot more dark in your garage, obviously, with you not here. But typically, when I drive by, your garage light's always on. I thought about like the hard times, like Amazon started in a garage, Apple. Those guys only could dream of starting in a garage like yours that you have now. I got to tell you, right? But
2 stories, yeah.
It's
elevator,
an elevator. I love it. It's pretty amazing. I still want to drive a car on it, because I have a feeling it would not go very well. But anyways, it's no, man, like this whole thing, and the thing is, the opportunities that are here as a result of this, like it is truly incredible, right? Like the things that you can help your clients with, no more than now. Like, tell me another time where there's so much uncertainty and chaos that people are looking for new ideas and new ways of doing business. Talk about the golden opportunity for business coaching right now. Like, it's incredible. We've got supply chain issues. We've got all sorts of uncertainty about, is there going to be a new variant of concern? Is there not? Are we going back to normal? What does the new normal look like? Nobody knows. And it's beautiful, right? It's absolutely beautiful.
So again, it just comes back to a question, Road Dog, right? We got coaches listening. Like, everybody knows that the magic is in the question. The question is, what opportunity exists now that didn't exist before? Here's a question from my mentor. What don't I see? What am I not seeing? Right? Like, that is like the number one question. What don't you see? Right? Like, if you own a convenience, you own 7-Eleven, and you're losing a lot of money, the guy who's putting the Gatorade in his pocket and walking out, and your staff members, that's the thing that's an example of a very, dramatic, but you know what I mean? Like a very black and white. But that's what you don't see, right? Like, when your bookkeeper steals $1 million from you, it's something you didn't see. So a question, what don't I see? And if you go, oh my gosh, I really like that question, there's a lot of power in that. I want to give you an answer, data. Okay. You won't see the Gatorade going unless you're managing your inventory, right? So data. So if you like that question, and I hope you do, I want you to go to the follow-up part 2 of that. Part 2 of it, or the answer to it, is going to revolve around data. And I'll dare say this: data that you're not getting, that your coaching client is not getting. And that is why, they're battling. See, it's accounts receivable. It's like, what don't I see? They don't see, because they can't read financial statements, and they say that they're not a good numbers guy or gal. That's why they don't read financial statements. But by not reading their financial statements, they didn't see the accounts receivable problem until it was a huge error, right? So your job, your undertaking as a business coach, is to help them with that. And I got to tell you, it's a million times easier than you probably think. Just accounts receivable, if it's an issue. But the problem, again, is you look at a balance sheet, and I said this, but I want to hit it hard. It's accounts receivable with the one number of $100,000 beside it. That's not good enough, right? that needs to be itemized the way that I said earlier, right? You got to itemize it, right? Age, the name of the company, the amount that they owe, and the age of it. Is it 30, 60, 90, 120 or older? If it's older than 120 days, you got bad news. They're not collecting it. So what you got to do is write it off as a bad debt and move it to the other side of the balance sheet, because what's happening is they're paying tax. Imagine having $100,000 that's owed to you that you're not going to get, and then paying tax on it. Okay, imagine the tax, and people wonder why they're short of cash. Let me tell you, that's what happens when you don't take a bad debt, or you don't take accounts receivable and one that you're not going to collect and move it across into a bad debt. They pay tax on the bloody money, right? So more of a cash flow issue. So anyways, Road Dog, itemized accounts receivable. If anybody just takes that away as a game plan to go help people, and you don't need to be an accountant, you don't need to be intelligent, and you don't need to have an accounting degree, and you don't need to have studied accounting at any stage of your life to not be able to go and help them with this. What it does take is a what don't I see question, and drill down and spending a little bit of time. Either you go in and help them, or you manage their psychology so that they get pumped up about going and, correcting their accounts receivable problem, which is going to be very hard to do, because Road Dog ain't excited about it. I ain't excited about it. Nobody's excited about it, right? But what they are excited about is seeing their bank balance go from $35,000 to, what did I say, $100,000. That's exciting. That's the sexiness. That's where you get their attention. So there you go.
Love it. Love it. I just want to say one other thing, Karl, and that is,
yeah, please.
Give yourself permission to just go out and talk to people. Stop looking for that next coach, guru, mentor. Hang on, butcher, baker, candlestick maker. Stop looking for the next. Stop looking for answers, and start asking better questions. So with that, close us out, man. What's one thing? Is it just that? Just ask better questions? Is that it? Is that the one thing that people should be taking from today?
Yeah. Look, I think they could take that from any episode you know what I mean? That should always be on the hit list. I think sweetheart syndrome is maybe one which we have covered in the past. Hopefully that provided some value though for everybody, where sweetheart syndrome is, which they tend to come together, where that is where they have an accounts receivable problem, as in they're doing the work, paying the commissions, paying their staff, wearing down their own equipment and whatnot, and then not collecting their money. And then the same person, that's normally disorganization. If you go to the root cause, what's the big rock? The root cause of that is disorganization, right? And a belief, the little conversation in between their ears that's constantly going, saying that I'm just disorganized, and accepting it. And then the other one, accounts payable, coming with the accounts receivable problem, which normally happens to the same individual because they're disorganized. So now they like to pay everybody straight away up front because they don't like to owe money, or they don't like debt, right? Because somebody told them at a kitchen table, 35 years ago, 50 years ago, debt's bad. So they think they have to pay everybody immediately, right? So those two things, again, how often do you hear from a business owner? Very common. I've got a profitable business, but where's my cash, right? Well, you know what I mean? This is there's the end. And there's some other stuff where you go to inventory, obviously, revenues, expenses, like the expense line on a profit and loss. Again, and look at if that's too much for you, like, oh my gosh, what's that? Just look at their credit card statements line by line with them, and just watch the money that you can save them and help them with. So anyway, so accounts receivable, accounts payable. I'm going to go there. Road Dog is our last thing. Just getting, and that would be the beginning, because I hope I'm inspiring you, right, to go, oh, I'm going to do this. And then what you do, you'd be on your way to becoming more comfortable reading financial statements, which as a business coach, I got to tell you, remember, I'm not an electrician. I walk into a room and it's dark. I need light. Okay. So I hit the switch. I'm not an electrician. I don't need to be an electrician to hit the switch and let there be light. Right. But at some stage, at about the age of 4, you learn how to turn the lights on and off. Right. Well, to read I'm not telling you to create the financial statements. I'm telling you need to be able to read the financial statements. And the good news is that there's not an enormous amount that you need to understand about the big three financial statements that you need to know. So there you go, Shoots. That's what I got for you. That's my answer.
By the way, I love that. You know what? You don't need to understand how electricity works to turn on the light. You just have to flick the switch. That reminds me of one of my old mentors, and he always just said, "You know what? You just don't need to know that. That's just PFM." And we're all like, "PFM is just like pure magic. That's it. That's all it is."
Nice.
Anyways,
there you go. There's our last thing, Shoots. You just hit it, bud. We're going with that. Pure magic. Boom.
There it is.
Drop the mic. Keep going.
Just like you, bud. You're just pure magic in a little tiny bottle. It's amazing. That's what it is. All right, everybody.
A little body approaching 200 pounds, by the way. So, but look out.
Island lifestyle is being a little too generous for you there, Shoots. You might want to, I don't know, get off the horse and maybe walk the horse.
I've been lifting. My sciatic nerve is finally. I had sciatic nerve, folks, that would bring tears to the average man's eyes. Oh my God, drove me nuts for a period of months. But I'm good, Shoots. I'm back in the gym every day, man. Twice a day, actually. So there you go, man. There's a bit of muscle, but there's
is that also your wife's name for you? Does she also call you her you are her sciatic nerve? You are a pain in her ass.
Yeah. If you read my emails every day, you might agree with
welcome, Tammy, if you're listening. So there you go. Anyways, nice. All right, everybody, we got to wrap this up. But again, thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the little sciatic nerve, King Karl himself. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or want to learn more about the group coaching software or anything else that LPW provides, go to focused.com, subscribe today. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share with a fellow coach or someone you think might make a great coach. And of course, as always, we'd appreciate it if you'd rate the episode, as we know that all those streaming services give a humongous amount of weight towards reviews. That's it for another week, folks. Remember, progress equals happiness. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.